Welcome, everybody. I am not Sean Paul, and my co-host is not.
Adam Silver.
He is not Adam Silver. And this is Let's Have Fun in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I forgot the number for a second. Um,
How do you forget one?
I didn't forget it. I was gonna say like in a different language, but I couldn't. Whatever.
I saw a post that said, let me talk about it. I saw a post that said, if you ever forget a word and you can't come up with like what words you were thinking of, you say, I forgot how to say it, and then say a random language. And that way people are gonna think you speak that language. And then they ask you in that language, you say, oh, I don't know that one either.
Yeah, yeah. So we have a very important item on today's agenda. And the topic is money. What's the problem? Hold on one second. Is your speaker on?
That's supposed to no.
Okay. The topic is money. What do I mean? These bills don't pay themselves, you know? I'm living the high life, and I need help. So I've turned on, what's it called? Monetary contributions on Spotify for this podcast. Um, Feel free to contribute. It's a very noble cause. And yeah, I think your speakers are on. Mute speaker. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. It's a very noble cause, and I will greatly appreciate it. So you can do that on the description of my Spotify podcast. Okay, that is fun. Um, let's segue from the topic of money to the question of tipping. Moises, that is his real name. What do you think about tipping?
Tipping. I think tipping is a bit controversial
Okay, why?
because you as a customer, a lot of times you feel pressured to tip at times, and the reason a person feels pressured to tip at times is because it's almost like you're responsible for paying the waiters and waitresses and the different people of the service industry with your tips, because that is a lot of how they pay off their bills. But that being said, the reason I think it's a little bit of a soft topic is because that shouldn't be I don't believe that should be the customer's responsibility.
Okay.
I mean, as an employer, you should be able to pay your employees the money they need in order to be able to pay their bills and expenses. That being said, I do believe in tipping, because at the end of the day, it is a service industry, and these people are providing a service to you as an individual.
Yeah.
But that's where it just gets a little complicated, because tipping should be something that you do out of your own kindness and good, and not out of guilt for feeling
Right.
responsibility for
Right.
paying other people's bills.
Right. I don't like tipping. Not that I don't enjoy doing it. What I mean is, I don't like the idea of it. And the reason I don't like it is because it's they make it seem voluntary, because you don't technically have to tip. I mean, theoretically, once you pay the bill, you could walk out of that restaurant and they're not going to stop you because you didn't tip, right? Um, so so it's not obligatory, but on the other hand, it's become pretty much the norm. And the problem is, part of me says, like, how much I promise I'm not cheap. um
That's what everybody says before
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 they
saying
before
that
they're
they're
cheap.
yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, look, I don't like giving my money away for nothing, right? If I did, I would just walk right outside here in New York City and just start writing checks. I mean, I don't know how to write a check, nor do I have a checkbook, but I would write checks. So I don't like giving my money away for free, but I have no problem paying for a service. So then when you frame it as like a voluntary tip, it's like, do I have to? Do I not? Because like I could also walk down the street and be like, do I have to give this person $100? Do I not? Right? So my belief is, to prove that I'm not being cheap, my belief is build the tip into the cost of the item on the menu. So if the menu says, if a burger is, X dollars, then $1, let's say, then add 18% of that already built into the hamburger. So it costs now $1 18%. Sorry, not 18%, $1 18 cents.
But I mean, you're tapping on a much larger issue, which is the entire like industry as a whole. That you need to be able to compete with your competitors, and unless your competitors are adopting um the same strategy to be able to pay your employees what they need to be paid, you're not going to, when your prices get that high because now you're implementing the cost of what the tips would be into your dishes, you're
Right,
not going to be competing with your
right,
competitors.
right,
So that solution already gets wiped out pretty quickly unless you're changing the entire structure of the way the industry works.
right. Yeah. So all I was saying is I have no problem paying the tip. It's just I don't want to have to pay more than I have to, So do I have to? Do I not? Like they're framing it as if it's optional, but is it really? Like, because a lot of restaurants, what they do, I think, is the 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 people, the owners of the restaurant, will pay their waiters and staff members less and say that the tips will kind of make up for the rest of the salary. So in that case, the tip is very much expected because that's pretty much part of their salary. But if it is expected, then why are you making it voluntary? Why are you giving me the chance to walk away from the restaurant without paying the tip? So my point is it expected? Is it not? Is it necessary? Is it not? If it is necessary, build it into the thing. I'll pay it gladly. If it's not necessary, then don't ask me for it. Like, and if I want to give a tip, I'll give a tip. But the way you phrase it, it's like I don't know. It just makes me feel guilty.
But
Like
it goes back to the owners, and the owners, the less money that they're going to have to worry about, the less money they're going to have to pay. They're never going to change. They're never going to be willing to change that
you're
structure.
saying, because it's not competitively beneficial.
Let's say it was. Let's
How?
say let's
Okay.
say it was. Let's say every single restaurant in the entire world,
Right. They
or at
all
least in the
adopted
United States, they
this.
all adopt this new strategy of just plugging it into the cost of their items. So now everything's slightly more expensive, and people have to pay a little bit more of a top dollar in order to get their food,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
And that just becomes the norm. Now, the reason I don't think the owners would ever go for that is because now you're offering a lot of these people full salaries in in a way, because you're telling them, hey, I'm going to be paying you X amount that you're asking for, and it's not going to be foiled into, oh, with tips. Now it's just, here's your base salary.
Yeah.
In some places in the world, Miami is a good one,
Yeah.
where there are people who are making lots and lots of money being
Bartenders.
whatever it is they're doing, and they actually want the tips because that's how they actually make their salary. And if somebody were to tell them, no, we're going to give you a base salary, this is what
Right.
you're going to get, there's no tips involved, that shortcuts them. So
You're saying they're making more on tips than they would be if
in some places in
if
the world,
the
yes.
sal if the tips were built in and it was a fixed structure.
Yes.
That's interesting. I never
but
thought of that.
but the reason I say the owners wouldn't go for it is because now it's guaranteeing that they have to pay these people,
Yeah.
let's say, an extra $150,000 a year on their payroll.
Okay, so
Because if I'm employing 15 employees, let's say, and each one is going to be, you're throwing onto their salary an extra $10,000 a year, you're talking about $150,000, and that's $150,000 that they're going to have to figure out, how do they allocate enough into the price of the food,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can then pay for these $150,000.
Right.
And at that point, it will be very difficult for them to actually create prices on many of these restaurants where they're not even where at this point you're charging a premium for food that might not necessarily be premium food. So you as a consumer,
You're saying because of the tip that you built into the
yeah.
cost.
So
Okay.
you as a consumer, you see that and you think this is too expensive for what I'm getting.
But what if
Less
okay,
business.
sorry, go
So
ahead.
less business. You're going to be getting probably less business
And then you won't be able to afford the salaries that you
promised to your employees. So it's
so
going to cost the owners much more money than what they.
but okay, but I mean, I think you could solve that by
Well, no, you can't
you
solve
write
it.
on you write on the
This is
menu,
assuming that every restaurant in the world has
right, assuming, but just saying that issue, you could just write on the menu prices are slightly more expensive because tip is built in. And then people are like, okay, like I'm paying a little bit more now, but I would have paid the same thing later with the tip, so it's
how
the
much
same.
how much tip would we be adding into the prices of each one of these foods?
Okay, that's a great point, right? Because some people give more percentage for tips, some give less. So that's something you have to think about. We want to throw it out to the audience, even though I don't think we have any way of collecting this information. But what percentage of tip do you usually give? So, just a little note as an aside, I kind of started this podcast on a whim. Um, and so I didn't like really sit down and like plan and like envision and stuff like that. But that's kind of like coming afterwards, and I realized that one of the goals that I have is every episode I want to have accomplished three goals. I want to, as the name of the podcast suggests, I want you to have fun, laugh, you know, have a good time, and enjoy yourself and your time while you're listening to it. That's number one. To have fun. Number two is to teach you something that you may, an interesting thing that you maybe didn't know before. And
Three.
number three, was that number? Did I
That's
say
two.
number two? Number three is to leave you with some type of question or idea to kind of ponder after you finish the episode, and to kind of carry with you, until you listen to the next episode. So I think a good place to do that is right now is, obviously, I mean, for me, I know it's not the same. I don't tip everywhere the same way. Um, like for instance, an Uber Eats driver, picker upper. All right, this may be controversial. Should I stop? Should I stop?
You can share what you want to share, but it's
What I'm
it'll be
saying
more
is,
controversial.
what I'm saying, I'll say it like this. I'll say it like this. I hope I don't get canceled for it.
You might get canceled for it.
That would be a badge of honor, actually. No, it wouldn't be. Don't cancel me. So, when I order food on Uber Eats, when you're like kind of paying for the food, finishing your order, they'll be like, how much do you want to tip the driver? So they'll give you like options the same way they would at a restaurant, 18, 20, 25%. I'm thinking to myself, when I pay that 18% at a restaurant, I'm paying it to the waiter or waitress who, who brought me my food, who took my order, who was attentive to any needs I had during the meal. How could you ask me to pay the same percentage of tip to
So
someone who picked up a bag, even if it's 5, 10 bags, he did it, boom, and that's it. You're asking the same percentage for both of those people. I think it's ridiculous.
so I think it goes back to the same conversation before as the owners, and I think that a company like Uber that is you're getting service fee charge, you're getting tax charge on it, there's a bunch of charges there, and at the end of it they ask you to tip the driver,
Right.
and they just like the service industry, which this is still service industry, but just as the ones in restaurants, they should be paying their drivers what they need to do, even more than the people who work in restaurants, because that driver's job at that point in time, it doesn't particularly like, it's not like you have an interaction with this driver. Like when you're sitting down in a restaurant and you have a waiter or waitress come over and you spend the time and you talk to the person, hey, this, that, you almost like when you're doing something person to person, you kind of at times can build, hey, now I know this person in a way,
Yeah,
right?
right.
This person has helped you. You asked them for different things in your order. It might have been a little annoying, send something back to the kitchen, so you tip that person for the service that they have provided you. When it
Right.
comes to the Uber driver, kind of like you said, they just pick up the bag,
Yeah,
they
they
come
put in the
and they
trunk of
drop
their
it off,
car, they drive, and they
and
drop it off a few steps.
that's
I'm
why
not minimizing from their job that they do,
no,
but what I am stating very unequivocally is that they're not doing their job
it's just not
is
extra.
almost nothing compared to the job of a waiter or waitress, and I think we can all agree on.
Yeah, I mean, some people could tell you traffic is annoying, but that's
Yeah,
besides the point.
okay.
Um, and that's why I think Uber, a big company like that, if anything, they should be they want to raise their service charge a little bit so you can pay your drivers. Go ahead, but but I'm in agreement that it's not the same level of a job. That being said, I personally still tip them because just
Who, Uber drivers?
yes,
Yeah,
because I know that they rely on that money in order to be able to
right,
pay for what they need to pay for.
right.
Um,
And that's what ultimately it comes down to.
yeah,
It all comes down to like I feel like the guilt and the onus. It's a new word. Write it down. It's I was talking to the audience, not to my co-host. He knows that word. He invented that word. Um, the onus, the burden, the responsibility of supporting these people should be on the people who employ them, right? But no, they offload it onto the customer, who, in addition to pay for the food that they're getting, also has to pay for the salary of the employee. So, look, nothing is clear cut, and I know I'm making it. I'm presenting the argument for one side, right? So that's why, like, I can make the argument on the other side also. So don't think that this is like clear cut, as I think I tried, not tried, whatever. What I'm saying is it's not an easy solution. I can see both sides, but the main lesson that that I think we would like you to take away from this is think and think and think. Don't just go about life doing what we do because that's the way it's always been done or because they tell you to do it this way. Ask yourself if it's a smart thing to do and if it's going to lead to a better situation for the world around us.
I mean, I think it's important to really stop and question your own actions. And I mean, at times, majority of the stuff that I think that anybody will encounter in their lives, most of the times you'll ask the question, you'll find yourself to come to the same conclusion, which is, yeah, that we should be doing something or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But still, a person should question it themselves because you need to know why you are doing it.
You should question yourself. What do you mean by that?
You need to question yourself. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Because it's important for you to know why you are doing specific things and not just go through the whole world and without just following social norms and just doing whatever everybody tells you.
Are you agreeing with what I said or you're qualifying it?
I'm on the fence of both because you're taking the
On the fence
opposite.
of what two things? I don't. What's the other thing?
Your argument was that,
That you need to think for yourself.
yeah,
And what's the other side that you're on the fence of?
the anti-tipping, the Uber drivers.
I'm confused.
I don't know what's confusing about that.
So explain. Go ahead. What are the two sides?
You're saying that we should stop and think for ourselves.
And that I didn't say that that means we shouldn't tip anybody. All I said is
No, but that's the context of the conversation.
right. Oh, so you're saying you heard me say that when I said stop and think means don't tip because it doesn't make sense? Is that what you heard?
Pretty much.
No, I was just saying, no, I was just saying, I can hear both sides, so just think and try to figure out. And, even if you come to the same conclusion you always held, it was a good thing to do. Shall we move on
We shall move
to
on.
other stuff? All right. Earlier, Moises and I, my co-host, we went out to lunch, and we're talking about the Flash movie that's coming out, and and DC and everything. We're talking about Superman.
Still need to recast him.
We're trying to recast Superman, and I'll ground you guys in a little bit of context. And by the way, we're 20 minutes and about 17 seconds in, trying to cap this off at 40 minutes plus or minus 2 minutes or three. So just so you know, we're at the halfway point. Um, Superman. I don't look. No hate on Henry Cavill or however you pronounce his name. He is. I'm sure he did a wonderful job. I don't really remember the movie so well.
Well, was it really so wonderful?
It was so wonderful. No, the trailers are great. I don't remember the movie. The trailers are very emotional. But what I'm trying to say is him and the guy from White Collar, Matt Bomer, whatever is his name. You look at them, they're like, okay, this is the guy that would play Superman, and like that is exactly why, like, I wouldn't cast them because I don't want to be predictable. Like, I don't want you to walk into my movie and be like, yeah, I already knew this. Why did I come to see your movie? I already knew what Superman looked like. I want you to come and be like, you know, I knew you never thought of this, but look at this Superman, and like when you see that movie, it's like, huh, I didn't think about it, but this is actually kind of looks like Superman.
But I think honestly that speaks more to the issue with the movies, the Superman movies, the most recent ones.
Okay, what?
Because they weren't particularly great.
Okay, sorry, Christopher Nolan, Dan Snyder.
Yeah,
he didn't mean it.
But they weren't particularly great movies, and I just wonder if the plot in the movies were made in a way that was truly a movie that you came out of and you were like, wow, that was a great movie. Would you still feel the same way about the person playing the Superman? Like, is it almost that the guy who looks like Superman, and that's why he's playing him, because he looks like he would play Superman,
right?
Is he almost overshadowing the movie because the movie wasn't that great?
Are you saying the opposite? The movie overshadows his performance, and no matter how good or bad he was, the movie just makes him look bad because it wasn't good. Is that what you're saying?
In a way, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Like, you can't even make a proper judgment of if he'd even deserve to be, or even put in a good performance or not, because the movie just wasn't good.
Right.
So, like,
so what do you think?
If we were to cast a guy who looks like that, who looks like one of them, play Superman all over again, you from the outside, you might think, oh, we're casting another one of these guys who looks like another Superman.
Yeah.
But what if that movie is actually good? Would you still feel that way?
Right, I hear what you're saying. In general, I just like saying things that people don't know, because then otherwise, why am I saying them? So I would just try to cast someone unexpected, but that once you watch the movie, you're like, oh my god, that could be Superman.
I mean, I think that the best way to actually achieve a good Superman movie might be taking that route.
Taking the route of the unexpected?
Yeah. Because when you cast somebody who looks like Superman, everyone's kind of expecting, like, oh, we're about to see Superman.
Right. And this kind of shocks you into attention.
Yeah. It kind of shocks you into actually paying attention to the story and take the movie for what it is.
Yeah. All right. Is there more to talk about in Superman?
Yeah, we could recast him.
Let's recast him. Who are we casting?
You want somebody unexpected.
Hold on. I want to actually talk about a movie that I watched. What's it called? Psychic or something? Psychotic? I don't know. It just came out like a month ago or 2 months ago, whatever. It's with Ben Affleck. It was the craziest movie I've ever seen because as an audience member, it was the worst, absolute worst movie I'd ever seen in my life without a doubt. Like, I can argue that until my face turns blue. And still I wouldn't have said everything that I needed to say about why it was so horrible as an audience member. Watch it for yourself. I'll put it like this. It's like an action
You're recommending people to go put themselves through the worst
No,
experience possible.
because it's actually a good movie, and I know I sound like crazy, but hear me out. Listen me, listen me here. Um, so what I'm saying is, it's an action thriller. Okay, there's cops, there's bank robberies, there's shootings, and there came a point. Actually, twice this happened. Literally twice, where something happened that wasn't supposed to be hilarious, and I literally just cracked up, like I just laughed out loud in the theater. Now, thank God it was just me and my friend and a couple, a couple that was sitting like a couple rows ahead of us. But I literally cracked up, and I felt after the second time I turned to my friend, I'm like, I'm ruining the movie for everyone. Am I not? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll stop. But it was just hilarious. It wasn't supposed to be, but fine. But it was so in that sense, it was just like the most ridiculous movie I'd ever seen, ever without a doubt. Again, it's like called Psychic by with Ben Affleck as the main character, but it was also amazing. If you can get over how horrible it was and just appreciate it for what it is, you'll have so much fun because it's actually a fun plot. It's just the acting is horrible. Like there's a like Ben Affleck is a cop and his partner is Hispanic, and when Ben Affleck gets in the car at the beginning and we like first see the partner, he goes, "What's up, compadre?" Like does it get more classic? The whole movie is just classic like that.
But I'll be honest with you, that's why I don't like Ben Affleck.
But he was so that's exactly why I brought this up, and I wanna hear why you're saying this. The reason I mentioned this movie is um because the movie you said about Superman that all right, let's pause until New York gets his stuff together. It's go, we're gonna be a while. Um, but no. What I was saying is that uh,
Stupid city.
you,
What a stupid city.
so Moises, you said that maybe the reason why why at least I don't think that I was impressed or whatever with Superman's performances is because the movie kind of was not good enough that it overshadowed anything that he may or may not have done. So the reason I'm bringing this up is actually because the exact opposite happened. The movie was so horrible, but Ben Affleck's acting was so good. Like you could just tell he's on the next level. None of the other actors were famous. Like I recognized like one of them maybe, but his acting it was awesome because you could see what a truly good actor is. He was just head and shoulders above everybody else. It was really cool. And as a writer, me personally, like I like to write. I want to write movies one day and direct them. And as a writer, this taught me two very important things. Number one, a line that I heard, which is that someone out there who is much less competent than you is living the life you wish you were simply because they took action. A lot of times we're like, yeah, if I only tried, whatever, I could do great things. Well, then go ahead and try. You know, you may actually succeed. That's number one. The other one is that it was a good way. It's like when you taste a really bad steak, it's like, okay, so I know what I'm not supposed to do as a writer. And then you just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've talked for a long time. Speak. Speak when you're spoken to.
I was just gonna say that I don't particularly enjoy Ben Affleck's style.
Okay.
What's the name of that movie with that he had with Matt Damon?
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
And Air. It just came out. Air.
I watched Air.
Goodness gracious, too. What is going on in New York City? There's like literally as long as we've been recording this podcast, just sirens and fire trucks and police. I mean, what the heck? We'll let you know at the end. We'll check the news.
I mean, isn't that just New York City?
Not like this. Let me just real quick check the news on Google. New York. I'm gonna click on news. What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing.
You check Twitter.
Nothing crazy. Nothing really that I can see. Is today like a special holiday or something? No, because it's not Juneteenth. June 19th. Just got shortened to Juneteenth. I guess that's where it came from. Anyway,
No, I just don't particularly enjoy Ben Affleck's style.
what is it?
His
Guys, I apologize, Dan Snyder, Christopher Nolan, Ben Affleck. The views expressed in this podcast are solely this podcast's and including myself. What?
No, I watched both. I watched both Air and I watched the other one, and both times I found myself just. I watch Ben and I get a little cringed out.
Really?
He carries himself in a way that is not like. I don't think it's relatable.
Okay.
Whereas a lot of these other characters that, for example, Matt Damon plays are, he really engulfs himself in the role,
Matt Damon, okay.
and you can relate with that. And Ben Affleck, to me, he does the thing we were discussing earlier, where you impose yourself on the role rather
Right.
than.
We're discussing about how, for the audience, we're talking about how certain actors almost submit to the role while others impose themselves on the role, and how,
Yeah, that. So
yeah,
he imposes himself on the role a lot.
who, Ben Affleck?
Yeah, and and I don't particularly enjoy his type of style. So I just feel that with all his movies.
Yeah. I happen to like him. I think, like, I feel like actors just play themselves, and that's why, well, not always. Like we were saying, like certain actors are the same across every movie. I feel like Tom Hanks is like that.
Yeah,
I feel like he just plays himself, and he just, under whatever circumstance,
I
the
don't even know if he's playing himself or if he's playing this persona that he created for the
right, but he's always the
But
same
that
person.
character is the same character,
He's
like
always the
every
same
single
person. It's just in different situations, different movies.
except
Yeah,
Forrest Gump.
yeah, true.
Except Forrest Gump.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point.
But all the other ones, I'm with you.
So the only one I don't mind that he does that is Robin Williams. I love Robin
Well, I think
Williams.
it's because it's relatable. Like I think the difference between the people who always play the same character, the same role, the same guy,
Kind of get to know them.
is that no, I think some of them are more relatable and some of them are not.
So it's just like the luck of the draw. Like if your one character is a good
It
character,
also has to do with a little bit. Now, this is completely my opinion, and it's completely like based on feeling, but some of them just kind of feels like that when they impose themselves on their role, it's very like ego driven.
okay,
Like they realize, oh, I'm this guy. I gotta play my role. Like
okay,
it's very ego driven. I think maybe that's why it's not so relatable. Whereas the other ones, they're playing the same role, but it's not full of themselves. It's I gotta just play this role.
okay. So you're saying, were you distinguishing? I kind of spaced out. Were you presenting both sides of the guy? No, I didn't space out. I just didn't hear the
I was
whole thing
presenting both sides of
of imposing versus submitting.
no.
Oh, you're saying within imposing.
Yes.
So can you restate that real quick? Sorry, audience. For those who are also spacing out, here's your chance. We're not going to say it a third time.
Just that some of them is very ego driven and some of them just go to play the role. And I think that's the difference in relatability.
So, for instance, let's
Right.
pick Robin Williams. He imposed his. I mean, if you look, Good Will Hunting and Good Morning Vietnam and Dead Poet Society, he plays this role that he actually was in real life. I mean, if you listen to his interviews, he was just this person who made you feel special, and and just made you feel good about yourself, right? And then there's a lot of like crazy, insane humor thrown in because his mind went, ran at like 50 billion miles an hour. But at the end of the day, he makes you feel okay. So he's imposing himself. Tell me why that still works, whereas somewhere else, some other person, it doesn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know anything about these people, and I'm just making this up, honestly.
Let's do it. Isn't that what we've been doing the entire time?
I mean, some of it's more thought out. Right now, I'm just answering your question based on what pops into my mind. But I think that given the fact that he was that type of person, he was the type of person that would make you
Affleck
feel special.
or
No,
okay,
Ron Williams.
yeah.
You asked me about Ron Williams, man.
No, I didn't know. Yeah.
Given the fact that he was that type of person, that shows through their roles, through his roles.
Okay.
That shows through his roles, and maybe that's why he has that likability and relatability. Because he was the type of person to go out there and try to make you feel special. So when he puts that on a role, people are more open to, oh, I actually like this. So no matter where he goes from movie to movie to movie, he's still playing the same thing. Everyone's like, yeah, I want more of this. I want to see more of this guy who makes us
Right.
feel good about ourselves.
Right. It's like you want to spend time with him in general. So if you can, so every movie that you,
When's the last time you watched a Ben Affleck movie after he imposed himself on every single role and you were like, oh, I want more of that ego?
okay. So here, I'm actually going to disagree because I love Ben Affleck. I think, big reveal, plot twist. Um, I actually like him. I think he's very, he just plays the role of this gruff, like kind of worn out dad and like just worn out by life and like just tired, but just keeps pushing because like I don't know, maybe he doesn't know any different. Um, Kind of emotional, but he doesn't show it. Like like he's from Boston or however you pronounce it there. So no, he's like the kind of person that I like that I want to like have a drink with or four, and then by that fourth one, it's like, well, he's a recovering or whatever alcoholic, so I don't think we should talk about that. But my point is, I want to have those late night heart to hearts with him because I feel like he's really a very like sensitive and kind and caring person. That's the image I get from him.
No, but I don't disagree with that. I do think that he is that type of person. But I think that the fact that it seems like he tries to hide it is very disingenuous.
He tries to hide that aspect of himself
A lot of these roles, yeah.
and be what, like tough and whatever. Okay, I didn't. I guess.
That's the sense that I get.
Okay. Um, I don't know which roles that would be, but okay. Oh, I didn't watch Batman, but I thought
Air.
Air. He hides that.
In Air, I mean, he plays Phil. What's his name? Phil Knight.
Till night, yeah.
He plays Phil Knight, and it's just, he portrays Phil. I don't know anything about Phil Knight, but he portrays Phil Knight as this guy who had like this big ego about Nike. Right?
Okay.
He plays him as this like, oh yeah, I'm Phil Knight. I make the decisions and stuff like that. And at the end, he gives in, and you can see he has his moments of thinking and a little bit of softness to try to actually come to his senses to figure out the thing with Michael Jordan in the movie. But throughout the entirety of the movie, he's very much focused on himself and thinking about like his image
Okay.
as Phil Knight. And I don't know, I just don't
As the character, as like
Yeah,
part
but
of the
it was-
character, or
it
his
was-
portrayal of the character.
I think it's his portrayal of the character, but it was very that it didn't come off as Phil Knight. It
Okay.
came off as Ben Affleck.
Okay, like acting like Phil Knight, not
Yeah.
being Phil Knight.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. So we are at the 39-minute mark. Let's do 5 or 6 minutes of fun. This part always slips away from us. Maybe next time we'll start with it. Um, so my go-to is just easy place to find it is Reddit. There's a subreddit called Ask Reddit where people just ask questions
I know.
and then people just answer them and they're usually hilarious. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of start reading. We'll read the question, then we'll switch off reading answers, and then maybe we'll just riff off of those.
Okay.
Question is, what is the most embarrassing thing you've ever said to someone you were trying to impress?
I don't think I have the answer to that off the top of my head. Let's see what they wrote.
Let's see what they wrote. Number one, I was around 50, and you're gonna read the next one. Here, you read the first one. Go ahead.
I was around 15, going through the receiving line at my cousin's wedding. This was my first grown-up wedding, and I wanted to act it. As I hugged my cousin, I blurted out, "I'm so excited to be here. The last wedding I was at was your first one." That has echoed in my head for 30 years.
What? Hell, edit.
Edit, this was my cousin's second wedding, the groom's first.
Do you think the groom knew that?
I hope.
Oh, wait. As I hugged my cousin. Yeah. It would be funny if, like, that's when he learned. If that's when the groom. I know, but it would be funny if the groom found out at that moment.
I'm not gonna lie, when I was reading that, I thought it was talking about a guy.
Well, does it say she or he?
No, it doesn't.
So don't
Could be
assume,
a
bro.
guy.
Come on.
Yeah, can't assume anything.
What was I gonna say? It would be funny if it wasn't the second wedding at all. He was just he or she, the person who said it, was so nervous that that's just what they said. All right. It says here, I went to the funeral of my then boyfriend's father. We hadn't been dating long, and I had only met his parents once before. I ran into boyfriend's mother in the bathroom and was offering my condolences. I can't remember what she said, but in my nerves and discomfort, I said in a chipper tone, "Thanks for inviting me." Like it was a party or something. She just kind of looked at me and didn't say anything. It's not that bad, but I still cringe so hard. Can't wait for the next one.
That's terrible. It's actually not that bad, but that's pretty terrible.
Oh my god, read the next one.
Went to Wattpad Warp. What the
Warp
Wattpad?
Tour.
What the fuck am I thinking about? Went to Warp Tour.
Whatever that is. We'll figure it
They
out.
had a contest to submit a photo, and the winner got to meet one of the bands. Took a sick shot with my BlackBerry, submitted it in low resolution glory, and won somehow. This is an old story for a BlackBerry.
Very old story.
Honestly, had no idea who the band was, but I met them, got a signed poster, shook all their hands. Then I said, "You guys were awesome, great show." Singer said, "Well, we haven't played yet, so."
Oh yeah. All right. Let me see. Okay, so this one is NSFW, so cover your ears if you're under 21. It's not bad. Had a similar experience at a SKA show. I guess that's a band. After my or something. After my favorite band played, we went backstage to pass a blunt around. Sorry, I should have muted that word. With the band, and then there were some other guys smoking with us. One ska guy I knew asked if we were sticking around for the rest of the show. I said, "Nah, we're heading out. Who the heck wants to see Sugar Cult?" Awkward silence and chuckles from ska guys. Then one guy I didn't know says, "We're Sugar Cult." All right, that was not so bad.
That's pretty bad to say straight to their face.
Yeah, but it's like it's awkward. It's not funny.
Yeah.
Listen, maybe I'm stupid and I don't know.
No, it's not funny, but it's pretty bad.
Okay. Let me read. I'm looking for a good one. Oh, maybe this one looks good. Cryptomnesia. What's the cryptomnesia?
Oh, 44 minutes.
44 minutes. All right, let's just find a good last one, and we'll do a really fun sign off. First girlfriend. This one looks promising. First, did I read? Is this your turn? First girlfriend, 6th grade, went to the movies. All right, great setting, character, great. Wanted to hold her hand. Oh my God, there's a lot of tension already. I love it. Good storytelling. Wanted to hold her hand, terrified, wasn't sure what to do. Started giving her a sales pitch on how awesome my hands were. Okay, 6th grader, very smart. They're really good at holding stuff like boxes or jugs. Okay, I'm noticing the conflict. Was truly thinking of milk jugs, God knows why, but accidentally suggested that I could just hold her, fill in the blank, or blanks. It's been more than 20 years and I still think of it regularly. All right, guys. I wish that would have had a different ending, happier one perhaps. Okay, I shouldn't have said that on my podcast. But it's been a great time with you all. Moises, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Um, the email for this podcast is let's have fun podcast at gmail.com. Please send feedback. Anybody, not anybody, but if you'd like to be a host or a guest on the podcast, let me know. I'll be happy to talk to you. If you're not a serial killer, there's a good chance I'll have you on. And if you are, there's a better one. So see y'all later. Woo!